Hi, this is Gary Bowles, based in San Francisco. I'm really excited about bringing big ideas to people inside organizations, and I'm really honored to show you these videos by John Hagel and John Seely Brown. Enjoy.
Let me just put it on the table now, maybe we'll come back to this, but part of this a whole new world point of view is actually a very deep notion of the shift of the importance of different types of knowledge. And this shift from stocks of assets, stocks of knowledge, to flows of knowledge is something we got to come back to, because it's not just the Twitter notion of flow, but there's something that is unleashed by the Twitter flow notion that I think is even much more fundamental, that actually goes to the heart of why these small moves actually can become catalytic to all kinds of other things.
No, it's definitely a core theme throughout the book, and it again does represent a very significant mindset shift, transition in terms of behaviors that most of us are very uncomfortable with, even though I think most of us, to one degree or another, are kind of edging our way into some of these behaviors already. We do it kind of on an ad hoc and intuitive basis, and what we're trying to do is pull it out and make it explicit as to what kinds of changes are really required as you move into this world of flow.
So let's dig into that just a little bit, then we'll go back to these three phases of we were talking about earlier. But how do you characterize what this big shift is in terms of the shift from stocks to flows, and how does that actually cause us to rethink what part of knowledge really plays out here, and then why that actually matters?
Right.
So, what we're really talking about here is something that is maybe more fundamental than meets the eye at first, because what we're really saying is government policies, institutional policies, the whole notion of the structure of the firm itself, so much of our entire economy, so much of the very notion of what schooling is about is based on this notion of building up stocks of capabilities, or skills or other kinds of assets that you will later deploy in the appropriate context. And so the very architecture of the firm seems to canonicalize that. And what we're really saying now is that, therefore, the very things that made us successful in the past may actually be barriers to moving forward today. And if we want to think about the fact that this could cause a new level of stress, because it's not just a question you have to run fast to stay in the same place, but or the diminishing curve type argument, pardon me, but that in fact we're running after the wrong targets.
Right.
And that if we're running after the wrong targets, then no matter how much harder you work, you're not going to make it.
Right.
And so, so we're in a paradoxical position right now. We don't have time to step back and rethink. And yet if you don't step back and rethink, you're going to crash into the wall.
Exactly.
And so, part of this, I think, is trying to lay out a vision that actually, ironically, could bring back a sense of calmness and creativity and innovation to the workplace, to the whole ecosystem, et cetera, by understanding this notion of now why flows matter and not just stocks.
Right.
But flows are more than just concrete assets. Maybe we could kind of expand on
Yeah, I think particularly here in Silicon Valley, when we talk about knowledge flows, inevitably the engineers and the tech, infotech people will light up and say, we're talking about databases and having data flow more smoothly through the internet, and certainly that's an important element of flow, that we don't want to diminish the value of that, and that's becoming increasingly easy to do. But the real value, the real flows that matter the most are the flows in terms of tacit knowledge, what we encounter on a daily basis in terms of as we encounter new experiences, developing new understanding of practices and techniques to deal with that. That kind of knowledge we have a really hard time articulating, much less putting into a document that can be spread across the internet. So the challenge is, how do we tap into those kinds of flows, because that's where the new knowledge is surfacing, and potentially most valuable knowledge. So it begins to start to refocus us away from technology to people, and say ultimately it's about social relationships, and how do you connect with people in a way that builds trust, so that you will in fact be comfortable struggling to express what's in your head, and probably making a bit of a fool of yourself at the outset as you try to do that.